Well, hello there. This is Jeff Herdman from E.D.S. Inc., Shandon, and we have another little video for you today. This is going to be our road trip. My son and I took off last Sunday, a week ago Sunday actually, and we went up to pick up some items that we won on an auction from a little town called Omak, Washington. This is about centered in the state, all the way north though. It was about 50 miles from the Canadian border. And Omak had a plywood plant there that had been in service for well over 40 years. One of the fellows I met there named Roy, he had been served his whole career there at this plywood plant up there. It was pretty sad to see it closed. At one time they had up to 1,500 people working there, and about the time of its close they only had 150. So it was quite a source for that little community up there for income. A very beautiful area right up there in the mountains. And our trip takes us from our current location here in the Paso Robles area of California all the way up to Omak. It's about 1,100 miles. And so it takes us up through the central part of California, through Oregon, and then through most of Washington, all the way up to this little town of Omak. And I'll let the video show you what we picked up there. Nothing really big. I wanted to get a radial arm drill, but unfortunately I didn't get the bid. And there was a Shandon shaper there. That was pretty neat to see. It was a small one. It was only a 12-inch shaper. They had a 144-inch between center Lodge and Shipley lathe that I would have dearly loved to have. I don't have a spot to put it. It has way too much real estate to put in my little shop. But it was a beautiful machine. It was in really good shape. And it ended up selling for $900, along with a couple of other shafts, lathes. They also had a milling machine, a couple of them. One was a Cincinnati horizontal mill that sold, I think, was $150. The other mill was, trying to remember, I think it was $350. It was a tracing mill, which was kind of interesting. It was a Gorton tracing mill, and you'll see photos of that as well when we get there. And then we showed a few shots of the plant and on the inside and the outside, so you can see the area a little bit. So it's a kind of a neat road trip. I want to take you along, so follow along and enjoy the journey. Thanks much. This road trip to Omak. Well, good morning. This is Jeff Herdman with E.D.S. Inc., Shandon, and we're about to embark on a road trip. And my son and I are heading up to Washington. It's about a 900 and some mile trip. There's a plywood mill that closed down, and they auctioned the whole thing off, every last bit of it. And so we're going up there and we're picking up some stuff that we won in the auction. At any rate, we'll take you along with us. So come on along. This is the great San Joaquin Valley. You can see it's beautiful and green out there. Just covered with millions of trees and various crops. And directly over there, 60 miles away, is the Sierra Nevadas. You can't really see them. Their quality here isn't that great, so on a very clear day you could see those, and you could see the snow-capped peaks. But today it's not one of those days. Now, how does this say green like this? When I turn around here, this is all dried up You can see a little bit of green up on that hill. It's starting to die out. This is the end of April, and already, due to the lack of rain, we're running out of water, or we're drying up already. You can see that all the way along the highway here. But the reason that they're able to grow out in this valley is right here. This is the California Aqueduct. Brings water from the Sacramento Delta area down through this valley hundreds of miles, and it primarily, you can see the valley go way down, it primarily feeds Los Angeles. A large quantity of this water is pumped over the hills and by the Grapevine and up down into the LA basin. So there's a lot of the farmers aren't getting their allocation of water because most of the water is allocated for the cities, or they're preventing pumping of the allocation of water due to ecological things like a little fish they got up there in the Sacramento Delta. But politics aside, that's how this valley stays green, is water that is brought into it, because it's basically an arid area. The valley runs from just south of Bakersfield, about the Grapevine, and it really, although it kind of ends up in the Sacramento area, or narrows, it widens out again north of Sacramento and all the way up into just maybe south of Redding. So this valley is hundreds of miles long and filled with just about everything you can think of. Pecans, walnuts, it's got cotton, it's got all sorts of soybeans and just about everything you can think of, plus a huge dairy industry in this valley. And they don't grow a whole lot of produce. Most of that's about 60 miles west of here in the Salinas Valley is where the produce is. It's more moderate weather there. This gets extremely hot in the summer times, but it's great for the trees. So anyway, I thought I'd give you this little tidbit. We've been traveling a few hours now, and we've got a long ways to go before we even get out of California. We got probably about, let's see, 300 miles to go, I think, before we're out of California. So I'll give you some more updates. Well, we're stopping for breakfast at Santanella. This is Pea Soup Anderson's. They're here in Santanella. They started out in Buellton, and I think they're in Carlsbad, and they're up here in Santanella now. So got a happy young guy this morning. He doesn't want to see the camera. So we're going to go in and get something to eat. You want to put your face up in the Pea Soup Anderson sign?
Maybe on our way out.
This is the countryside north of Sacramento. This is the valley in Northern California. And this valley is primarily used in rice farming. So there's a lot of rice fields. There's some nut trees and that sort of thing. They grow a lot of walnuts and almonds and nuts like that up here. But yeah, it's still agricultural land, hundreds of miles north of where we started. A lot more trees in this part of the valley than there is south of us, as you can see, except where they've been cleared. So very kind of pretty farmland out here. Very flat too, as you noticed. That's why it works great for rice paddies. coming up to real soon to Redding, and hopefully from there we'll be able to see Mount Shasta, and we'll bring in on that as well. It's very pretty. Just right over there is the Sierra Nevadas, but you can't see them because of the cloud cover. They're a little bit closer to us now than they were when we were south. This valley is a little bit narrower here. Shasta Lake.
What he said. This is Shasta Lake.
We've been traveling 450 miles, 60 miles. We're almost to Mount Shasta, about 40 miles away.
It's not the best picture, but this is Mount Shasta right up here.
This is the south side as we head into it. We've been traveling about 500 miles since we left, and we finally reached Mount Shasta. There's about 60 miles or so of California left. And we'll be into Oregon.
Hello everyone, now we are at the Grass Lake, just near Mount Shasta. That mountain over there isn't Mount Shasta, but we aren't far from it. We are coming closer and closer as to Oregon as we continue to drive down our route, and we're hoping to get there soon so that we could show you guys what we're going to be getting, some grinders. Anyway, just thought you'd be interested in seeing this nice open area, and thank you much.
We're just outside of Bend. We're heading towards the Washington border. We've traveled just about 800 miles, and I think we'll travel for another 2 to 4 hours. Excuse me. We should be in Washington in about an hour and a half, I think. And there's probably about 3-4 hours drive from there to Omak. So that's what the plan is. That's what we're shooting for. Since I started about 2:30 this morning, I had to run to the shop and get stuff, load up the truck and that sort of thing. I'm a little bit worn out, so I may not make it until 12. May stop at 10. So it's 8:05 now. So anyway, beautiful country out here outside of Bend, Oregon. Last time I was here was more summertime and everything was dry, and today it's nice and green and pretty. Ran through quite a bit of rain, and some slushy rain even, almost like hail, not quite. And California could use it down in our area anyhow. So anyway, that'll do it for our comment tonight. I'll probably bring you back maybe tomorrow morning, or as we're traveling, or we'll bring you back once we get to Omak, and we'll do a tour of the facility that was auctioned off. Okay, thanks. This is a river. I'm not sure the name of this river. Is up here in northern Washington. It's below the Grand Coulee Dam, though. But I thought this was kind of a neat little drive through the canyon here, right alongside this. It's kind of a dammed up river is what it is, because down below us there's another dam that backs this water up, so it's not flowing like a river does. But that's what this used to be, is a river down through here. Now it's kind of a lake river. kind of pretty sitting down here in this canyon. All these kind of purplish colored rock, purplish brown. We're about an hour and a half from our destination. We didn't get as far last night as we'd hoped, and we traveled about 900 miles, I think. Yeah, we traveled about 900 miles last. Well, actually, it was close to 1,000 because we're 1,100 now. We've been traveling for about 2 hours now. So we started at about 6:30 this morning, and so it was right around 1,000 miles that we traveled yesterday, all in all. Trying to get a close up of my nose.
Yeah.
What we're looking at here is the apple orchards of northeastern Washington. We're probably about 50 miles east of Wenatchee, which is one of the big apple growing areas of Washington State, and Chelan, those areas. Not really sure. This is Bridgeport, I think, Washington, or just a little bit north of Bridgeport. And you can see the apple orchards are all in bloom right now. Looking good. Well, we have arrived. We're at Omak, Washington. We'll nestled down amongst the hills here in Washington. And right around this way is where we have come to, Omak Wood Products. And this whole plant auctioned off, all the buildings and everything, completely 100%. So we're coming here to pick up a few tools, and I wish I would have gotten a few other things. This is a veneer mill that was designed to make plywood. And they have presses over here where they pressed all our plywood, and segregated it all. But this complete thing is sold and shut down. Every piece of equipment was sold. All these pumps and motors and every piece in here has been purchased at auction last week. So we've got some coming up, some neat equipment here. We're going to be going down into the machine shop here in a few minutes. Trying to figure out what in the world that is. Machine there. I'm not sure what in the world that is. Big old machines though. Maybe somebody has seen this stuff and knows what it is and can comment on my channel. I'd like to see one of the veneer lights. We just go down here, turn right. No, we'll just keep going. That's a big old cinder lift there. There's an old wood part there. Let's go down here and look at something down here. Old motor housing. Might be a machine shop, I'm not sure. This is all their old motors and stuff and transfer cases. A lot of scrap metal. I remember seeing all this stuff on the auction for sale. All these parts and pieces and everything. Big little long conveyor belt up there. I think this is the machine shop here. Walk around this tunnel. That over here. Looks like some sort of a vise here. Oh, look at this. This would have been neat to get. This is for strapping belts. And this is all their belt supplies right here for their equipment, their old equipment. See, this machine here would put on the buckles for the belts. I didn't see that up for auction. Lot for $11.48, sold the first day. I'll be. All that strap and everything all sold. I've never seen that. Here we go, this is mine, $11.51. This is one of the grinders that I've got here. Wow, that's a massive thing. Well, this will be 500 pounds, son. Woo, that's a heavy sucker. There's a lot of fiber here. They closed the plant 2 years ago, and they had about 150 employees at that time. They said there was over 1,500 people that were working here at one time at this plant when it was going full gun. So I imagine this was quite a really helped the community as far as economics goes. So it's sad to see it shut down. All that plywood coming from across the seas. Local fellas can't compete, I guess. We're walking up to the machine shop where our last piece is. We found 3 of the 4 pieces that we came up here to get. They're all grinders, big heavy duty grinders. And so just have to find the last one. It's supposed to be in the machine shop. That's my understanding anyway. So, and there's a lot of neat goodies up in the machine shop, so I'm kind of anxious to get up there. We've got that's where they have the radial drill. They have a 144 inch between centers. I think it's a Lodge and Shipley lathe. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see it. They also have a shaper up there, a small one. I think it's a 12 incher. I can't remember. I think it's Shandon manufacturer. They have a tracer mill, which will be interesting to see. Hopefully we're walking to the right place. So here's one of the machine shop. I bid on that table. Boy, I would have liked to have gotten this. All solid cast iron table, 64 by 64 inches. Real nice heavy duty one there. Been a nice one to have. There's a nice table here too, but it's a little bit big for my shop. There's a brake right there, a roller, nice little upright bandsaw. And And this is the grinder that we got. So let's see, the motor, this will be an interesting one to pull off. Okay, it's bolted down to a piece of concrete here. And it has a rotary dust collection up here. An AV system turns on the grinder. Motor, which is back here, it's a 5-horse. It must have a belt that runs from here all the way up to here. It's a pretty heavy duty grinder though. It's like 2.5 inches of grinding wheel on that puppy. This thing probably weighs several hundred pounds. This will sit right on the floorboard of the truck. It's not that big. I don't think that comes with it.
No, it doesn't. It has a different number on it.
Does it?
Yeah.
But pretty good.
Pretty good. Mm-hmm.
This is makes patterns using gas cutter. You can see all the patterns up here on the wall that they made with this in the past. This before plasma cutters. Pretty neat setup. Come on in here, son. Here's where the lake is.
All right. Well, electrician's on his way to go.
Yeah, all he has to do is shut off the breaker and we should be good. So, okay.
But he knows where all that stuff's at, so when
Okay.
he gets here, he'll most likely just probably pop that box open and just shut it off real fast. I went for $900, $950. That lathe right there.
Oh, man.
The,
144.
Roy was sitting here. The one that older gentleman that was working back here all the time said that just one of the bits for it cost just as much as that thing probably got bought for.
Yeah.
He walked out of here with a crap load of them. Just the stuff that goes with it, he said probably cost me about $950.
Yeah. Well, all the tooling for something like this is very, very expensive.
Oh yeah.
This got a taper attachment to it. It's a Lodge and Shipley. Looks like it's probably in the 1950s era.
Said it runs smooth still.
Oh no, it looks like it runs fine.
Yeah, you only paid $950 for it. We thought it went more than more than that.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants one that big, and they have to get it out of here.
Oh yeah.
So, here's a smaller lathe here. I think this was a Victor. That's right. A little Victor here. Another little small grinder. Oh, that's what I wanted to see. These milling machines back here. You know what the boring machine went for?
No, I don't.
This boring machine here. Giddings and Lewis. Looks like an old one. A little bit worn. I bet you she still would clean up real nice. A Bridgeport mill. Table looks in clean shape. It's all manual. And here's something of interest here. This is and it's in good shape. My goodness, she's in really good shape. This is a Shandon shaper. Looks like it's a 12-incher. I'm not sure what this is. A keyway machine here. And then what I'm seeing is Priests are over here. Priest master. Milling machine. A Gordon Priest master. Neat old machine here. Seen better days. And this is a hole wizard. Did on this too, didn't get it though. Oh, actually this is a Cincinnati Gilbert. I thought it was a hole master. Nice radial drill. So maybe what I'll do is I'll go down and there's a Cincinnati horizontal milling machine.
All the boat are here, I thought it was a boat shop. Okay. Where's over that way?
They're all little
Yeah.
bit on this press too. All the paper Yamazaki. Looks in good shape. Nice, clean. It's got to be about 60 inches. 72. Oh. It's a 36-inch surface planer. Looks like it's 12 by 36. If it tells me somewhere. It's a Thompson surface grinder. Massive machine. So, maybe what I'll do is I'll go down and I'll pick up the smaller ones first, then I'll bring the truck up here and take tools and stuff.
Yeah, he should be here shortly this time, and he'll have it shut off. And which one is it again? Side.
This is the one right around the corner.
Just right around the corner.
Hey, you're good. Okay, well, we got our load. We got 4 different grinders here. 2 of them have 2-inch wheels. This is a 5-horse unit here. This one up here, I believe, is a 3 horsepower motor on it. And then we've got another one that's a 2 horse and a 1.5 horse. So some heavy duty grinders here. So we're set up in the shop, both the welding shop and the machine shop, with grinders now. We've been looking for them for quite some time. We got all of these for $100 a piece. So we got a pretty good deal. And looking forward to hooking them up and using them. So it'll be quite a, why don't you zoom in on that stone right there. What we got there. The others are turned away from us, so you can't really see them. So, this is an ancient machine. It's well over 40 years old. The fellow that loaded started working here 40 years ago, and he said it was sitting there working then. He says it works as a real workhorse. I tried the bearings, and There's no movement in them whatsoever that I could detect. Once I get home, I can put an indicator on it. We can check them out and see if there's any movement at all. But I'm pretty sure there's no movement. They seem so stinking solid. They turn well, so looks like they're in good shape. They're rough, they're old, but I think they're going to do our shop real good. So we'll turn a couple of them into buffers and a couple of them into grinders and with wire wheels, and we'll have a full range of grinding capability in the shop now. So that's a real wonderful deal, and I got them all for the price of one, and pretty good units too on top of that. So anyway, we're gonna shut the tailgate, load up, and head out of here. So this is our visit to the Omak plywood mill that's shutting down. They did sell everything. Everything here's sold off. They're sold the buildings. They sold all the equipment tied to them, and all the steel laying around the place. It's all sold. So the plant shut down. Used to have as many as 1,500 workers here. In the last few years, about 150. And so it's kind of sad for the town that they've shut down, but what can you say? So, okay, thanks much. High hills and mountains right around here. We're at 5,000 feet right now, in fact. Shasta towers over everything else. And quite a beautiful mountain. It's not the tallest one in California. Mount Whitney is. And in fact, Mount Whitney is the tallest one in the continental United States. Up there in Alaska, we've got one that's in Mount Denali. It used to be called something else. Yeah, so it's not the tallest mountain in California, but it's a pretty one.